Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today, again, is Kristi Magraw. She's the creator of the Magraw Method, certified director of psychodrama, registered massage therapist, musical teacher. She's a professional musician and composer. Kristi is also the author of Note by Note, a tale of trauma, recovery, and musical discovery. So this is my brief introduction to Kristi, and we talked before, but the full bio will be at the end of this video. So welcome back, Kristi. Thank you so much for our meaningful collaboration. So the question to open up our conversation today is, what inspired you to do what you do, the beautiful work you do, and also to record this interview today?
The reason I wanted to do it at this time is connected to the effort of being myself, not just in the framework and the comfort of friends and family, but a bit further out into the world, and to share my book, Note by Note, and the knowledge that it holds. Here's my book.
Yes.
Note by Note. So the vulnerability of being seen on a video podcast, it's always a little bit difficult for people with facial difference, and it's requiring me to make a renewal of what I call my attachment practices, of which music is one. And I want my home that I travel out from to be as secure as possible. And this means grounding in the things and people that make up that landscape. And, it might seem odd that someone with a disability, a difference in two ways, that both of which make music making hard, but that I would be so passionate about music from an early age, but I was. And this trauma-love combination led me to healing whatever was in the way, a kind of a determination. And this led me to a synthesis of methods, which then turned into my career, and I passed on to other people. And in the spirit of music, my heart song is that I don't want people to suffer. I want them to get what they need, just like me.
The outline you sent to me, you just mentioned there as well, but I wanted to say that again. You said, I need to make the home that I will travel out from as defined as insecure as possible. And then you said, there is a lot of talk these days about being ourselves, but little understanding of what it takes to get there or to be ourselves. So can you talk to me a bit more about that, Chris?
So I call this process, and many people do, the process of attachment. And so I'm going to talk about it for a little while, and then I'll get back to how music can influence it, okay? So hang in there. I'm going to keep it simple as I can. So obviously, our early bonding experiences influence our self-concept, our relationships, and how we go out. But these are not set in stone. Using our imagination to develop a new landscape in our psyche, we can heal those attachment patterns. And creating this secure attachment in my landscape, in my psyche, has been a lifelong journey, achieved night by note.
Yes, beautiful. I love that cover.
Chapter 7, I cover attachment. Okay, so in order to change our landscape, we need to work with what's called self-objects. Self-objects help with that formation. So it was a term coined by Kohut, and we attach to external, it refers to external objects or people, like parents or caregivers, but also to music, books, things we create, things we find, that we incorporate into ourselves, and then by imitating how they make us feel, practicing how they make us feel, we develop our sense of self, who we are. And positive self-objects can nurture the kind of self-esteem that we want, where we can be vulnerable and safe in relationships. And we can feel confident going out into the world to make connections and have the resilience to deal with disappointment. And so music was always a big part. Music and songs and musicians, singers, they were all always a big part of my attachment landscape. So, yes. And our parents and other caregivers early in life, we also mold ourselves on what they give us and what they reflect back to us. But they're not perfect. It's never perfect. So there are always things to heal.
So true.
So we often replay our negative attachment scenarios in order to heal them. I certainly did that. My insecure attachment pattern that was built on neglect of my disability led to a beliefs of nobody out there wants me, I can't depend on anyone. And, those beliefs then led me into relationships with alcohol-addicted men. I was quite codependent. So one more illustration of the attachment patterns. Okay, so insecure in general leads to a feeling that something's missing, that we're compelled to either chase after, search for, or push away. So that's insecure. Secure attachment is a warm, safe, confident feeling where we feel grounded. So, and then in the insecure area of attachment, it's broken down usually into two, sometimes three. But I'm going to talk about two. So I have metaphors for this that I'm quite happy about.
Yes,
so for one type of insecure attachment, it's called anxious attachment. And so I call that Chicken Little.
Yeah.
So as you recollect, Chicken Little is always running out into the street going, the sky is falling. And it's very anxious and very worried about the future. And the second one is Little Red Hen. Yeah. So Little Red Hen, she wants to bake some bread and wants people to help her, and they keep saying no. And so she says, well, I'll just go do it myself.
Yeah.
She goes through all these different scenarios of having to do it herself. And just as a secure attachment makes us feel more ourselves and secure in the world, negative or insecure one creates trauma instead of healing it. So addiction is a good example of this. And another symptom of negative attachment landscape is dividing the world around us into saviors and devils, heroes and failures. And I actually think this is what's causing a lot of problems in the world today, in society in general. Too many people in insecure attachment acting it out in various ways.
True.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense to me. Yes. You mentioned, I made notes here while you talked. You mentioned neglecting our limitations. You called disabilities. I would call limitations.
Okay.
Would be the other coin, the other side of that would be acceptance, Kristi, or something deeper or something.
It would be acceptance and engagement. So you would engage with, instead of avoiding it, instead of putting it over here or obscuring it in some way, you engage and find out more about that part of you or that aspect. Yes. So I would
That sounds scary too, doesn't it? To get closer to something that we want to run away from.
Well, that's why we need our positive self-objects. That's why we need our songs.
Yes, so true. That's why we need guides and therapists and you name it, right? Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song?
Oh my God, so many of them. One that comes to mind immediately is John Lennon, Imagine. For some reason, that song always comes to mind when I think about a song that would resonate with the heart.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because, your interest in spirituality would lead you to songs like that to comfort you and give you strength when maybe things aren't going so well, right? So that makes a lot of sense to me that would be your song.
Okay, so that's what it means. So then once we find the secure attachment, whatever it is external, then it becomes a reflection of what's happening inside.
Yes.
Kristi, how wonderful that is.
And then we attach to it. It works for us.
And it does. So it's very personal too.
Yes.
Right, Kristi? It's not something that we can share. Of course, with some people we do share. A lot of people love that song, Imagine. So I guess we share that. Yeah, you mentioned that music, when we engage with music, we use both sides of the brain. I would like to hear more about that.
Yes. Can I give some examples of how music helped me first? And I'll get to that for sure. Okay, so we're now entering into how music does its magic. So one way that I was soothed when I was little was my father would take me in his arms and dance with me while he listened to music on the radio. That was great. And then it helped me in my peer relationships. I would sing with my friend Meredith. And that gave me the identity of, singing with people makes you feel close. That's a big part of my identity. And then writing piano pieces with my teacher, what I call my music mother. And that gave me the feeling of, I am a creative person. So, and then an interesting one connected to my disability is that after my operation, when I was, really depressed, I would hear Buffy St. Marie and flamenco singers. And they both have so much sorrow in their voices that it was like a reflection of me, and an accurate reflection of what you can't express. That really helps the self-concept, and it strengthens my identity and inspired me to write protest songs.
Yes.
Listening, it stimulates the neurons firing in the right side, that's with melody, and then the neurons firing in the left side of the brain with words and rhythm. So when you sing a song or play a piece of music, you always have melody and rhythm.
Right.
And so that means the two halves of your brain are working together at that point. And then when that happens, you have a feeling of being more unified, more at home with yourself when the two sides are working together.
Yes, it's a feeling of wholeness, isn't it, Kristi?
Yes. Yeah.
So I was reading this about in your book, Chapter 7, and I came across that passage, and I was just kind of imagining or thinking, what are other ways that we can connect both sides of the brain? Other activities? Would you say dancing too?
Dancing, yes, and tapping and various things like that. But anything where you're, using a combination of activities together. But music is a very strong one. So I'd like to talk about an example of the power of music, which is it's connected to this state of the world situation. And my question is, can music heal communities? And what if we could choose music instead of shooting? So an example of this is the Estonians. and the Estonians were occupied by the Soviet Union, and they created what is now called a singing revolution.
Oh, wow.
And the way they did that was, Estonians place a lot of value in their heritage songs, and they sing a lot. They sing from childhood up, right? So they have a tradition of that. So what they did in these protests were they would sing together. They would go out on the streets, they would sing together, and first it was thousands of people, and then it was hundreds of thousands of people, and then in the end, 1 million Estonians won out against 150 million Russians, occupiers.
Wow.
So that's amazing. There's actually a documentary that was made about it. And they use their songs in a fairly unique way to help them understand themselves and their values. So they have a deeper relationship with music than maybe some other people. I mean, everybody has some of a relationship, but I think they were able to use it in that powerful way. I was so inspired by that I wrote a song. I wrote a verse in one of my songs, and it goes, "Here at the heart of listening, the sounds of peace ring clear. As the walls of hate keep falling, a forest of people sing."
Wow. Yeah. Someone, what's not to love about your poetry?
Yeah,
So music is poetry too, right? It just, that's how I see music, poetry, which is very much related to the soul. Wow, Chris. Oh, this is a good time for you to actually would like to read the lyrics of the song that we will play at the end of this video. That will be the song that's called "The Song from My Father" that you have written, and that will be played at the end. We're not playing in the middle of the interview, but I'd love for you to read the lyrics. I'll have the lyrics there too, but can you read the lyrics?
I mean, I have to actually memorize, so. I will. And just only the first verse, because I've currently rewritten the other verses. So,
yes.
Okay, so he found a song of beauty in the world and sang a lullaby to his child. As they walked the sand, moonlight softly touched the waves as he touched her hair, warm, strong hands sharing his love.
Yeah, it's powerful though. And I know that's not even, I mean, I love the sound of your voice too. The song is just so beautiful. It makes me emotional. I don't know exactly why. There's no narratives, but it's, it touches something very deep within. And I think it has to do with the human connection, how beautiful it is when we can, right? We can come that close.
Well, thank you. And that was when I had more of a singing voice. Anyway,
it's beautiful.
I think it's partly you have that feeling because I wrote it right after my father died, when I was really needing to ground the feeling of him in me, so that I could have it. And so I wrote that song, and it worked quite well.
Yeah. It's almost like for you, it must have been this a kind of bringing back the resonance, that energy of the moments that you were together that you probably don't remember, right? Logically, you can, but it's there. It's never left the body.
Yeah.
There's something else that you said that really, I mean, I have questions, the guided questions here about the baby and the guitar. I will show here too. I can't believe I didn't ask you that question.
You want me to talk about that right now?
Oh my God, yes. We want to know what's the meaning of the baby in the middle of the guitar.
The baby in the middle of the guitar.
Yes.
Okay, so music has a wonderful effect on our imaginations. So I wanted to put that in there to give the idea that we can connect with an inner part of ourselves, right? And music can help us when we're closed off. It kind of sneaks in. It kind of sneaks in.
So true.
Subtly put it there, that idea in people's imagination of, oh yeah, we could comfort others or ourselves with music, right? So when other ways don't work.
What a beautiful reminder for all of us. And I have interviewed some people here who are poets, and they have they talked a lot about poetry, music, of course, and poetry, how it helped them with grief. So I
Yeah.
remember that they mentioned songs, lots of songs, and they used to sing the songs when they had lost somebody close to them. That was the first time I heard about that, music becoming this almost this healing ground for grief.
Yes. Yeah.
So, wow, music is highly healing. Would you say that music is one of the most was and it still is one of the most healing components in on your own journey?
Oh, yes, without question. And it really created a kind of safety in me so I could feel my grief and within a circle of safety. And then because music stimulates the vagus nerve, the vagus nerve is our social engagement system, part of our social engagement system, then it helps us to feel safe with others as well, and especially singing. and, and then we feel safe enough to cry if we need to, if it's there.
So there is a biological factor too behind it, the science behind that too, music. And I just want to mention before I have 3 more questions here, the guided questions. Okay. But before that, I know when we talked about your voice, I know you mentioned a lot. You had some issues with the voice, and just singing the song. When I heard you sing the song for my father, I thought it was so beautiful, listening to you, and I just wondered about. I guess what came to mind was, isn't it enough? Even if we just sang out of tune, I know it's not. We're not supposed to do that professionally. But would that have the same effect? I'm just wondering, because some people do sing just out of fun, and they seem to be having a great time.
Yes.
So, yeah, would that be the same? Have the same effect?
It would have much the same effect. It's still stimulating the vagus nerve, and it's still, if you make up your own words, you're still singing to yourself, right? And it could be chanting or whatever, right? And the important thing is to be comfortable, with whatever kind of music, And if it's not singing, sometimes you can just do rhythms, and spoken word, right? And that still will have the effect.
Yes, that makes sense too. But there might be a reason why so many people shy away from singing, even if it is, in front of other people. They don't really, it's almost like music, it's a sacred thing that we are not supposed to, in a way, I don't know, I'm trying to rationalize here why sometimes I feel like shy about it. My husband says, sing a song. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm doing, and, maybe I could, but I don't. So would you say that, would that be the reason, Kristi, somehow that's something that's so sacred that we want to know how to do it. We want to, almost navigate that realm with care.
Yes, of course. I mean, I would say there's 2 things that keep people from singing. One is people who have stopped them in the past, for not good reasons. So, and the whole aura of performance around singing instead of just singing, right? And then the other is people don't know how to tune their instrument, their voice.
Yeah, it's an instrument, right?
Yeah, it's an instrument, and people need to learn if they want to be in harmony with others. And I think it should be taught in school, like, just like math or something. People should be taught to sing so that they can join with other people easily. And it's always going to be easier for some people to sing than others, right? So, yeah. Like, for instance, after my operation, my singing voice would come and go. And I didn't know why till much later, why it would keep coming and going.
Right.
But because of that, I developed a rigidity in my voice and my performance style. It was hard to have the kind of resilience that a full career in music would have required, even though I was a singer-songwriter for a while. So, and often I would give up and just go back to helping people.
Yeah.
And that was because of a performance for us. Yeah, not performance, a attachment bargain that I made very early. Can I read a tiny section from my book?
Yes, of course.
Okay. This is called Attachment Bargains. In our child's mind, we make efforts to get from our parents the love that we want and need by making such bargains as, I'll be a good girl or boy if you won't leave. I'll never complain if you love me. Or my favorite, I'll be the best worker ever, so you will always choose me. The problem with these bargains is that they harden into defense system and perpetrate the fears we are trying to soothe. I used hard work as a way of ensuring my place, but was never sure I was really wanted. It took a long time to let go of the best worker bargain go.
Yes, right. That's a big one for most of us, it seems to me. We are always trying. If I work hard, then I'll be loved, right? There's something about that, working so hard to become more valuable.
Yes.
So one of the guided questions mentioned your first memories of the importance of music, and it's your father singing to you
Yes.
when you went to sleep. Is this something that it was a realization after you became older and you could understand, you could make that connection between music and your father? Was that something that happened through memory alone, or perhaps a friend or somebody kind of reminded you that music was part of your life and it was supposed to be there?
I think it was a combination. I pretty much always wanted to do music.
Yeah.
Except for when I would get discouraged. Yeah. And I pretty much always had the memory of my father's voice. Yes. Yeah.
So he was always present. So music and your father, it goes hand in hand.
Yes.
How amazing. Yeah. How amazing that is. So the other questions about dreams.
Yes.
Talked about dreams and how they affected your music abilities and gifts. And the guided question says, you said, I would dream song concepts and also put dream images in songs.
Yes.
How wonderful that is. I have, of course, heard musicians, they talk a lot about that kind of, sometimes the whole song comes in the dream and you just write it down.
Yeah, with me, usually it's parts of dreams. For example, a song that I'm using right now as an attachment song, which is called "If I Can Sing, You Can Do Anything." That song began with a dream of a horse running on water, right? And so I incorporated that in the song. It inspired me, and it's helping me develop my new singing style. And it's giving me hope that I will find ways to communicate who I am no matter what, and that I can be accepting of my blocks, knowing I matter, even with my imperfections. So that's what you're asking.
Yeah. That's a powerful message, isn't it? Accepting oneself regardless. And Kristi, that's what comes back to me over and over as a message. As life itself, if we can attach to the let's say to the idea, to the concept that we are life. We are not separate from it. We are just speaking as life itself. Then it entails everything. Life is the good, the bad, black, all the contrasts, everything. There's no such a thing as perfection, but creation itself. That's what keeps coming back to me as a message.
Maybe those are words you would like to chant.
Yes. I would love to chant that. I know I was stopped a lot to speak, even as a child. I remember, you have nothing to say, you can't speak. So that stopped me from even speaking. I think I was probably silent for so long. And then singing, I can't really, that would take probably another years. I do have another question for you.
Yes.
Well, I do sing all the time, though. I sing along with songs all the time.
Oh, that counts. That counts a lot. Oh, totally. That's very
Yeah.
good. Yes, that's
Oh my
wonderful.
God. I love that. I love singing along.
Okay, you're
It's
doing it
so
then.
much, it's so much fun. There's something else that you talked before my other guided question. You mentioned the negative attachments under that
Yes,
expression. You said the feeling that something's missing. There's that
yes.
feeling that something's missing, so I needed to go after something. So how do we balance that with this let's say this calling, this longing to do something more, to create something different? Does it count as something missing, or this is just the long to create, to be creative, to be more expressive, fully alive?
I think it's different. And the way that I have seen the difference or defined the difference
Yeah.
is that when it's an attachment pattern, negative attachment pattern, it has a repetitive quality. Whereas when you're creating, no, not really. It's a forward moving kind of thing.
Yeah.
It goes forwards.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so traumas, the negative attachment coming from trauma, also trauma itself. That's interesting to see that. I heard recently, I probably mentioned to you, I'm not sure, that trauma is the inability to be in the present moment, to be here now. So
Yes.
this, right? Because it's fresh. This moment's fresh. There's no trauma here, but people who have been traumatized and they're still dealing with the residues of that, they keep going back to the past. They become sad for no reason. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Do you want to make a comment about that, Kristi?
Well, what I promised was I'm going to talk about a particular one to give an illustration of what you're talking about, which is that often society doesn't reflect us back to ourselves very well. And growing up, there was conflict between wanting a musical education, such as I want to be a conductor, I want to go to music school, but my programming, in other words, societal attitudes about women and particularly about disability, such as men deserve the musical spotlight and women who don't look beautiful shouldn't be on stage, created a situation because of that lack of reflection back of really who I was, that the fear won out over the desire to move forwards into my creativity.
Ah, that's sad, isn't it? And it still happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, not nearly as much.
Yeah. It's changing little by little.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's changing.
Yeah, it takes a long time really to change a whole this perspective. The view, especially of the perception of a system, the understandings of a system, the structures of a system. I noticed that. Gosh, it takes so much time to change that. But yeah, I feel that's changing too. Another question was about what would you recommend to others who feel like they need to use music more for healing?
Okay. So there's two ways. One is that on songs that you really like, that you're attached to, you sing
Yeah.
along with, you ask yourself questions like, what is the main message of this song for me? Which words
Mm,
really resonate with? Or
yeah.
is it the melody? Is it the feeling that it gives me? So you just do a little bit of a deeper dive into those favorite songs, and you'll find very interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah.
And then the other
Uh,
way is you kind of go at it from the other angle, which is you take words that are important to you or just things that you want to remember, like I'm okay, and you make a little chant. Or if you're melody inclined, you make a little melody. Because when we sing words that have meaning to us in a melodic phrase or a chanting phase, then they become anchored. They become anchored in our psyche. And then we can add them to our attachment landscape and become more ourselves as a result. So chant your words and sing your songs.
I love that. Yeah, you just made me think about another song that I
Yeah, what
found
songs?
out. recently. It's called Sign of the Times
Oh yeah,
by, you know, the singer?
yeah, Harry Styles.
Oh, Harry Styles, yeah. And the reason why is because it talks about being here before, that it's the only thing we know, that we have been here before. That in a way, he's saying that we never die, so we keep going on. We are not as good as we think we are when we look from up there, from a different perspective, more spiritualized perspective. So it's true. So it seems like my attachment now. You just bringing this to my awareness. It's really as a spiritual one, because I have been always inclined to go to search for spiritual path. That has been always as a spiritual seeker. And then once I realized some truth, spiritual truth, then that changed. And now it became more like looking for whatever it is out there that can reflect that back to me. So how wonderful to know that that's an attachment of the psyche. So that's the mind trying to reflect back what's in there.
Yes. Like I've got this great quote, one line from a song written by Mahalia Jackson. And in the title and the main line of the song is, I'm going to live the life I sing about in my song.
Wow, I love that.
I would like to read one more lyric.
Yes, of course.
Should I do that now? Or?
Yes, please. Yes, Kristi. Okay. Yeah.
So, this is a song I wrote for my music mother after she died. You know, she was a very important person to me, as you'll hear from the lyrics. And again, I was trying to ground her in myself after she left us. Yes. Okay, so it's called Don't Lose That Smile. For my tiny legs, her house was far across the field, but she could see my dreams and knew they could be real. She taught me the secret of following my feet and how to see what's underneath. And when I felt as lonely as a seed in the wind, she'd open her arms and bring the sunshine in. She'd say, you are so beautiful. Don't lose that smile. When the world turns its shoulder, let it pass by. Keep the best and let go of the rest. Yeah. Always remember, don't lose that smile. When she read to us, each story came to life. And when she'd play those keys, we'd sing all night. She taught us to wonder what lay beyond the stars and what makes heroes who they are. And even though I lacked some grace, round her table, everyone had a place. It's a way of listening that gets a growing heart to flower, that makes a friendship in a few precious hours. Thank you for being moved. I really appreciate it. I was moving myself a little bit there.
Yes, wow. What's not to love about her message? I mean, that's what she left in you, imprinted?
That's right. That's what she left.
That's her message. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's so true. Yeah, it relates to my own traumas too, of not being loved for what it was, and not smiling. That was a big thing. Like, no, I have too many reasons not to smile, I remember. And having that in my psyche and holding back. Every time somebody said something funny or something was joyful, I would kind of put my head down and try to put my hand in front of. I was doing anything not to show my smile. So that is so amazing how words they can transmit truth, right, Kristi?
Yeah.
That's her message. That's a soul thing. That's to me. Comes from truth. That's what it is, grounded in truth. Thank you so much for sharing that. Would you like to share another one? Hopefully I won't cry again.
That's all I had prepared at the moment.
Wow. Yeah.
If I have a few minutes, I can I can share a Dolly Parton lyric. Dolly Parton's
Yes.
has a beautiful lyric that I used to comfort myself. It's the chorus. It's the light of the clear blue morning. I don't know if you know that song, but
I don't know. No.
anyway, this is the chorus. And I can see the light of a clear blue morning. I can see the light of a brand new day. I can see the light of a clear blue morning. Oh, and everything's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. So,
Yes.
that's a really great, and the melody is just beautiful. So, between the melody and the words, it's a real comfort song. You know.
I'll look into that. I don't know much
Yeah.
of her. There's another song that comes to mind. I'm sure you're familiar with. Landslide, I think, is the name of the song.
Yeah, I probably heard it, and I just didn't know it by the title. But
Right. Yeah, I'm sure you know that song. So that song touched me for some reason. So you have expressed beautifully, Kristi, how the power of music. There's a lot of love in it, and I think it's because it represents the harmony within life itself. Again, goes back. It seems like every time we're in touch with harmony, balance, then that feeling of love arises, of healing. We call, just feels so good. And I don't know, I get a feeling that this is what it is, because we are actually in the presence of something that's so true, because it has to do with our essence. In essence, we are in harmony. We are already, our true nature is already in perfect harmony. And I think music reminds us that's
Yes.
a beautiful reminder, profound one. That harmony, it's here.
Yeah.
It's not just possible, it's here.
And thank you for resonating in harmony with my lyric. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing your beauty, for sharing your connection to something so profound. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's spiritual to me, so that's how it comes across, highly spiritual. So the lyrics will be at the end of this video. Also the song that you have written, that we mentioned the song for my father. And then I have the book cover there too, so people can see the baby. And I'll have, of course, the link to Amazon and your website. KristiMagraw.com. So before we say goodbye, is there anything else that you left unsaid, Kristi? Anything that you'd like to share or say in this very end?
Well, I think music is a emotional and spiritual pursuit for me. And I would write songs that I could get attached to, that would lift me up out of my depressions. Songs about all kinds of things. Yeah.
That has been my case, and probably every single one of us, if we really pay attention. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now, Kristi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hands sharing his love. Ooh,